Yeah. Welcome to our One Life Fully Lived Google Hangout. Our special guest is Robert Kiyosaki. We're so excited to have Robert as our special guest. You know, he's one of my own personal heroes. His book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, had an incredible effect on my life. But I gotta say, it was his game Cashflow that really set things in motion for me. I played this game with my accountant, Byron McBroom, from about 1995 to 1998 while I was achieving critical mass. And in the game, you get this balance sheet or profit and loss statement. You're given a career. You're like an airline pilot, a teacher, a nurse, and you play the game, and the game is all about getting out of the rat race and getting financial security. And that's what Mr. Kiyosaki's here to talk to us tonight, is how you can attain financial security in your life. We got that coming up in a few minutes, but before we start with Mr. Kiyosaki, I want to let you know a couple of other special events we have coming up that we're very excited about. The first one is next month's Google Hangout featuring John DeVore, who is he is the captain of the Red Bull space team, aerial team. His claim to fame is he's done over 18,000 parachutes. He's the foremost authority on human flight, and his moniker is "Gravity is my engine." How about that? Gravity is my engine. I love it. So what he's going to teach us is what he's learned from The Rise of Superman, the book The Rise of Superman, and that's all about creating flow. And whether you're flying at 500 miles an hour like John DeVore, or trying to be a better businessman, better parent, better husband, whatever it is, John's going to teach us all about creating flow in your life. The next event we're very excited about is our 5th annual One Life Fully Lived conference, which will be in Sacramento, California, October 24th and 25th of this year. And get your tickets by September 1st because the price goes up. Matter of fact, go to onelifefullylive.org right now and sign up for the conference. So as I said, Mr. Kiyosaki is one of my heroes, and a couple other of my heroes are Rock Thomas and Matt Aitchison, who are going to be interviewing Mr. Kiyosaki. And so I'd like to introduce them right now. Rock Thomas, Matt Aitchison, you guys take it away, and let's see what you can do with Robert.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege to be on this call, and to want to thank Robert for taking the time to be with us. We all had the pleasure of meeting him in Tahoe in March, and hanging out with him, having dinner, having cocktails with him, and we saw Robert unplugged and really raw, talking to an entrepreneurial audience. I'm excited to get to visit with him today and to ask him some questions that we've elicited from our audience over the last few days, so that they can get the answers that they want in today's economy and find out what the future holds for them as we go through these uncharted territories. And a guy like him, with his wisdom and with his ability to see things as he has, he's got a new book called Second Chance. I'm excited to ask him some questions about that. And I know, Matt, you've been playing in the One Life park and eliciting some questions from some of the people in that area that you get to spring on us as well, right?
Yeah, we got. It's been great. We've been compiling some great questions from our community, all you awesome people out in the One Life world. And I want to encourage everybody, as we're going through and interactively going and navigating some of these questions with Robert. You got on your sidebar, I think I'm pointing in the right direction, there's a Q&A section. So if I see Gabriel Wiseman already posted a comment here on a question that he has. So we want you guys to have a voice. We want to connect you to the source. And like Tim said, this guy's been not only a legend in the financial literacy space for quite some time, but he is really humbly taking some time out of his day to share with us. And he's really passionate about educating us on how to create cash flow, how to create financial freedom, and it starts with that awareness. So we're extremely excited to have him on the call. He's going to be jumping on here in a few minutes, and Rock and I have been really kind of going back and forth here over the last few days, and we want to make sure that we are providing you guys in this next 55 minutes with the most jam-packed value that you guys can get. So please engage. We got lots of people all around the country, actually outside of the country, who are participating in this webinar, and it's really cool to see people taking action towards their financial education. And Rock and I, we played some cash flow. One of the things that I know a lot of people don't know about is just how to get started with your passive income journey. And I know that's something that Rock has mentored me on. We got Tim Road. I've been fortunate enough to be on this One Life Fully Lived journey, and it's really cool to have someone like Rock on the call with us today. So Rock, is there anything specific that you are excited to be diving into with Mr. Kiyosaki today?
Well, of course, there's a ton of things. I think that you know, playing the cash flow game and getting out of the rat race is something that is still difficult for people. So one of the things I like is to be able to ask directly the questions of somebody that has experienced, like Robert, to hear it from his lips. It's one thing to read somebody's book. It's another thing to be able to hear it from them live in the flesh today. I remember playing the cash flow game in Australia with my nieces and nephews, my gosh, maybe 15 years ago. And the battle to get out and the exhilaration of getting out, it is really real in the real world. So I hope people understand the impact of that metaphor that he's really created through a game. And I look forward to that. And I think that, you know, I met you a year ago, Matt, almost to the day, and I've watched you take some of his principles and engage them in your career, in your businesses, in your life, and have really a quantum leap of improvement, not only financially, but have it trickle down and cascade through the people you've met and the people you've worked with. And certainly an honor for me to call you now a friend and a really a badass entrepreneur that is young, and you are the future of you know, of this planet and where we're headed. So just great to have you on the call.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I know Robert's written some amazing books, and Taking Me Back was one of the first books actually my dad ever gave me. And my dad's on the call today, so shout out to Mike Aitchison. What up, Pops? He handed me Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was 18 years old, and wrapping my head around this idea of not working for the man, not letting someone else create my own destiny, but me taking charge and creating it for myself was an extremely exciting concept. And Robert has amazing books of cash flow quadrants, why A students work for why A students work for C students. We'll be diving into his book Second Chance today, which is his latest one. His wife has some amazing books, Rich Woman, that I've passed along to my beautiful other half, and he's really paved the way for a lot of people to gain clarity in how to take action towards this idea of financial freedom. So we're going to be diving into that with you guys a little bit today, and it's really exciting because when I bring up his name to people that are working in an E-quadrant, an employee quadrant, a lot of them have absolutely no idea who Robert Kiyosaki is. And you talk about people in this entrepreneurial space, and Robert is truly a legend and has created this platform for entrepreneurs, a springboard, I'd like to say, that has allowed me and other people to really catapult themselves into that business owner and investor quadrant. And I know he's going to be talking a lot about that today. We'll be diving into, you know, his ideas on what's going on in the market, where potential opportunities are for younger entrepreneurs coming out. And you know, it's not all positive, right? There is some scary stuff that he wants us to be aware of, and creating that awareness is the first step, which will allow us to put some more tools on our tool belt to really tackle some of these challenges and obstacles and turn them into opportunities. So it'll be a fun thing to dive into.
You know, Matt, if you remember when we were in Tahoe, when he came to visit us last time, David asked everybody in the room to please stand up if Robert Kiyosaki or one of his books has impacted you. I want to say that 99% of the room stood up. You're talking about a room that had a net worth of over $271 million. It gives you an idea. I mean, I would be proud if I was Robert Kiyosaki in that moment to know the impact he's had on that caliber of individual. And as I look over some of the things in his new book, I was talking to a guy today he's 24 years old, he's a student, and he says he's busy paying off his student loans. And in the book, Robert talks about how the student loans now have gone from 80 billion, I think, in debt to 360 billion or something in the last 4 or 5 years. We're a society that, we're educating people for jobs that don't exist and for careers that are paying less. So the whole entrepreneurial aspect and having a capacity to go out there and create something for yourself. I have 3 assistants that work for me. Well, one of them works in the Philippines, and I pay them $8.60 an hour. And I don't provide them with office space. I don't provide them with a computer. I don't provide them with health care. And most of the jobs in the last 10 or 15 years that are being created are not being created in North America.
Right.
So unless you have a way to adapt to that, you're going to be downsized, outsourced, resized, and you are going to be in for a surprise. And it's thanks to Robert that it opened my eyes and I started to understand this. And in his book, what's fascinating is he uses a lot of graphs and pictures to illustrate the impact of it. And when you see that, you start to go, I need to make some new choices in my life. Otherwise, I'm going to be in for a surprise in the coming years.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's a big concern for a lot of younger generations. Like you said, our future. A lot of people who are already being set up for failure, and it's not their fault. It goes back to not knowing what you don't know, and that's the beauty of this community is we're here to enlighten, we're here to share, we're here to collaborate, we are here to lift one another up, inspire each other, and that's the beauty of One Life Fully Lived. So it's I hope everybody knows how big of a deal it is that we have Mr. Kiyosaki on this call today. It's a really cool honor to be able to pick the brain of somebody who not only has amassed a significant amount of wealth for themselves, but they've done it by giving back to others, and that's the really cool part about One Life is paying it forward, and I know we're going to have that opportunity to do that today. So as Robert is diving in to he's coming back from a meeting, so he's apologizing for. There he is already.
I apologize.
Mr. Kiyosaki's in the house.
Mr. Kiyosaki is in the house, and obviously for everybody that does know him, he's the author of the international bestseller Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the owner of the founder of the Rich Dad Company. And it's a great honor to have you on board here today. And I like your style, Robert. Great choice.
Well, you should have seen what I had on a couple of minutes ago. Well, anyway, I apologize. I think I'd tell you where I was at. To be successful today, I need to be a pessimist as well as an optimist, which makes you a realist.
I love it.
So I was preparing for the apocalypse. So anyway,
well,
that's
apparently I didn't get the memo on the dress code, but
I like your style. I would wear that better.
So let's dive right in, Matt. Why don't you go ahead? We've got Robert for another 45 minutes. Let's get right in so our listeners can benefit from his wisdom.
Beautiful. And I'm gonna go ahead and be throwing a few questions at you, Robert, from our community. We appreciate you paying it forward, and really you've been a legendary figure for a lot of people. So it's great to be able to share your wisdom with our community. Rich Dad Radio has been something that I know has been a big impact on me, and you recently had one of our buddies, Hal Elrod, on, and it's very cool to hear someone who's been so successful for a very long period of time, and yet you've continuously reinvented ways to inspire yourself. And can you tell us how the Miracle Morning has truly impacted your life, and why you feel it's such a necessity for younger entrepreneurs today for setting themselves up for success?
Well, I think Hal Elrod is a genius. When I went up to see you guys up there around Lake Tahoe, I was really at that point looking for something other than more money. And in my life, always at the right time, the right book or books appear. So when I was up with you guys up in Tahoe, I was in pretty lousy space. I have more than enough money. I have a great wife, great life, more success than I could ever hope for. And there's an old song that says, "Is that all there is?" You know. So what I know is that for things to change, I've got to change. It has nothing to do with what's outside of me. It's what's inside of me.
Right.
And so Hal's book just was there at the right time, plus another book called The Happiness Advantage. Now, interestingly enough, you know, Hal's book, what he did was package the best of ancient wisdom. You know, silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, and reading and scribing or writing. So when I saw that, I said, oh my God, this guy has packaged it, because for years I've done a lot of personal development work, like visualization and meditation, but nobody ever packaged it into one high-potency tablet.
I agree.
As I was reading Hal's book and following the process, for my reading, I was also doing Happiness Advantage, which was done by Hal, Sean Accor, I think it is, and he's a Harvard guy. And they were saying the same things except in different words, but what Happiness Advantage was doing was verifying or making palatable for Western minds the ancient wisdom that Hal had developed. So my congratulations to Hal, and I thank you all for that book, because it was the right book at the right time, and it has made major changes in my life because of it. So that's my way of saying is I congratulate all of you for being people who are seekers of knowledge and wisdom versus just money, because you know, cash is trash. So we really have to look at what is more valuable than cash, and that's wisdom. So congratulations to you guys, your group.
Beautiful, thank you.
Nicely said, Robert. I appreciate it. You know, regarding your book, Second Chance, it's a fascinating book with a lot of impact. Can you tell us a little bit about what you feel the major benefit will be for somebody to pick that up?
Well, Second Chance, the hard part is making complex simple. That's the tough part. The trouble with academia, they take the simple, make it complex, you know. And so my job was how do I make this economic crisis we're in simple? And so the struggle was how do I put it into pictures? And lo and behold, you know, it was nice to see the charts provided by the government telling the world how screwed up we were. So I just threaded a story with pictures so that a 10-year-old child could look at Second Chance. It's a thick book because of the pictures or charts. But when you look at the pictures, then you can figure out what you can do for your second chance. Because I think personally, I know this sounds pessimistic, but I think we're going to crash. And that's why I was a little bit late today. So it's if you know and you prepare, let's say there's a 20% chance we crash, I'm not afraid of the crash. But if you're not preparing, and I say we're going to crash, then I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? How dare you say we're going to crash? So you guys saw the video, and I was calling the crash of 2007 on schedule. I was calling it. And I think my prediction was that 2016 is going to be the biggest of all mother crashes on planet Earth. Now, if you're prepared for it, it's going to be the best of times. I make more money in crashes than I do in boom times. So it's a matter of perspective. That's why I said, you know, to be successful, and I commend you guys for meeting and studying and, you know, looking for outside ideas rather than being, you know, just, what do you call it, just massaging your own ideas. Your study group's fantastic. And I have my own, and we meet next September. It's coming September. But it's to keep our minds open to new ideas, new ways of thinking. So already my group has already got Hal's book. He's got most of them have got Happiness Advantage by Sean Accor. So we study spiritual books. The next book we're studying is called Flash Boys, you know, by I forgot his name now, but if you guys are in the stock market, I would definitely get out or read Flash Boys. It's one of the easier to read books about high frequency trading and dark pools. It's one of the reasons I'm not in the stock market, because it's completely rigged. It is corrupt as hell, and yet most people are betting their future on the stock market staying up, and it's 100% manipulated right now. So
right.
That's what I say. That's why I think education is important, but wisdom is more important.
You mentioned a great point, Robert. Is you obviously are constantly learning, growing, and not everything that we're learning is always optimistic and positive, but it's always things that it starts with that awareness, so we can at least adapt and overcome the obstacles. And you are surrounding yourself with some sharp minds. So we got a great comment from Matthew Teeter, who's a leader in a real estate office, and he wants to know, what are you learning right now? Where are you spending a lot of your time and focus for expanding your mind?
Well, I'm going to be as radical as I can for you guys.
Okay.
Because if I told you the same vote Republican and everything will be fine, I don't think you'll appreciate my comments. I'll tell you, my concern is right now, you better be careful who your friends are. And in my own life right now, I'm more cautious than ever before of who I'm around. And I have different groups for different scenarios coming up. For example, I have my business guys, and they're all entrepreneurs, like yada, 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 yada. But within let's call it Rich Dad Advisor group, within that group, I have my Class 3 guys. And the Class 3 guys are full auto machine guns. And I've already told the other guys in my group that if, and I hope it doesn't happen, that the economy breaks down and we go to civil unrest, is I'm only gonna hang out with guys with machine guns. And if you don't have a machine gun, you don't have food, I don't want to hang out with you. You and I can be best friends today. You may be my accountant or you're my attorney, but if you can't handle a full auto, man, I don't need to talk to you because you become a liability. And so I'm just kind of push your guys' mind this, because let me give you the worst case scenario. U.S. supermarkets have less than 3 days of food on the shelves. When people hit starvation, they turn into zombies, like in Michael Jackson's Thriller and all that stuff. They turn into animals, and I've seen it. I've been to Vietnam. I've been trained to think like that. A human being can only take about 3 days of hunger. Once they're hungry, they turn back to primal. That's why your friend who has no machine guns and no food and no water could become a cannibal. So I just want you to think about that, because I've already seen it happen so many times when we're desperate. And in Vietnam, we got desperate many, many times. And it's not pretty. Your friends come apart, and sometimes you might have to shoot them. So that's why I want you to think about what happens if in case there's an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, or whatever thing happens. When people are hungry, the world changes. And at that point, you'd better know who your friends are, even though they're good friends today. So I say it all the time to my group. I said, look, you don't know how to handle a machine gun? If it happens, we're no longer, I like you, but I'm going to branch off and go with my friends. So my machine gun friends are different than my entrepreneur friends.
Well, you know what? Let me jump on that bandwagon if I can, Robert. Very interesting answer. Speaking of friends, you've co-written a book with Donald Trump. He's running for president. I'm just curious, do you think he has a chance of winning? And at the same time, will it make a difference having a businessman in office if he does win? Or is the whole thing just a publicity stunt for himself?
Well, I think that's all of the above, Trump's not a stupid man. I hope he wins. He's my friend. We've written books together. I feel for him right now because he's stepping out of business into politics, and politics is more like knife in the back than stuff like this. I think he's being soundbited. You know, like he's you know my unfortunately my Mexican friends, you know, they're legal Mexicans. They say we'll never vote for him now. You know, but he got soundbited. He was talking about illegal immigration, but then he mentioned Mexicans.
Right.
So it's really tragic because the Mexican people, Latin people, I know most of them are very smart. We have one woman in her office who was an illegal immigrant for 27 years she hid, and now she's one of our best employees. So it's just tragic that it was soundbited. The same as McCain. You know, I went down 3 times in Vietnam as a Marine pilot, and I don't consider myself a hero. You know, I don't know if McCain considers himself a hero. But if you're locked in the Hanoi Hilton, which you haven't seen is worth seeing, you're locked there for 1 year or 5 years. You know, it changes you. But what he was talking about was McCain lives here in Arizona, and right down the street is the VA administration, which is a complete disaster. You know, there's corruption, kleptocracy. So, you know, and I think McCain probably took some shots at Donald, and then he retaliates on television or whatever he did. So I think he's being set up, and he's not handling it as well as he should. So that's my view of him. On the other side of it, you know, if Ted Cruz says he's going to create 1 million jobs, give me a break. Guy hasn't even had a job. You know what I mean? He's a smart guy, Harvard guy, and all this stuff. So when I look at the cast of characters on stage, which one of them is tough? There's only one, it's Donald. And in my opinion, the U.S. is getting screwed by China, Mexico, Europe, and all this stuff, and this Iran nuclear deal. And they're all saying, oh, let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Well, Donald's going to say, F you. And if you don't give me a better deal, I'll pound the crap out of you. At this time in history, I think that's what we need. We don't need another, you know, Obama who's going to try and hold hands and sing Kumbaya with people who want to kill us. And I've been to war. They want to kill us. You know what I mean? That's why I mentioned my machine guns.
All right, nice perspective.
I will shoot. I don't think Obama would shoot. My wife wouldn't shoot. Do you know what I mean? So who is the toughest person at this time in history? It's Donald. Beautiful.
I got a question from Elise, and she is fresh out of college, and she doesn't know what she doesn't know. She never had anybody who mentored or taught her on how to invest properly. What's a good place for a young college student to start who is completely, I don't want to say ignorant, but unaware of where to begin?
Well, number one, I always say you've got to choose your teachers wisely, because your brain, your heart, your mind, your spirit, your body is all you got, really. So if she doesn't learn from good teachers and learn what's appropriate, she's hosed. You know, when I came back from Vietnam, there was three things I studied. Number one, I come back, my old man, poor dad, is unemployed. 50 years old, PhD, which means poor, helpless, and desperate. And he tells me to go back to school, get my master's and my PhD. So I did. So I'm sitting at the University of Hawaii MBA program, sound asleep. And then listening to a guy who has no idea what he's talking about, you know, this frat brat college guy. And I mean, he just got out of college, and now he's teaching college kids. And I'm going, hey, get a life. You know, go out there and chase around, have fun with donkeys or whatever you do. Get a life. This guy's no life. So the second thing I did was I took a real estate course. And the reason I took real estate, and it was just 3 days long, and it's made me a multimillionaire over and over again, is that real estate's about debt and taxes. But most people are investing in real estate to make money. You've got to really understand debt and taxes, because the dollar is no longer the dollar. And so I took real estate classes on that, and I practiced that. I loved the teacher. He was a pure real estate investor. I understood him. And then the third class I took was personal development, much like what Hal does. So I did a thing called EST, just because being a rich person is personal development. In other words, if you have 100,000, no, let's say, many people today, if you gave them $100 problem, they couldn't solve it.
Right.
They don't have the capacity. Their human being capacity might be $50. Like just now, I was coming back, rushing to get to the thing. I see this guy, veteran, need money, young guy. So this guy can't even pay the rent or whatever he's doing. He has no capacity. So the most important thing with personal development, which Hal writes about, is why I love his book so much, is that today I have a capacity of about $100 million. So you give me $100 million, actually $500 million capacity. So I could solve that problem. I can solve probably half a billion dollar problem. Most people can't solve $1 million problem. So there's three types of education. There's traditional, which is go to school and get a job. And then there's financial education, which is real estate and stocks and bonds. And I don't mean invest in the long term, because that's really stupid. But it's how to trade the market, because you can make more money coming down in the stock market really quickly. So I'm not afraid of dying there. But the biggest is personal development. You've got to increase your capacity. The question is, how big a problem can you solve? If today I said, here's $100 problem, most guys can handle it. $1,000 problem, fewer. $1 million, less than 1/10%. They couldn't come up with $1 million. You know what I mean?
Right.
So personal development is probably the key, which is what Hal does. So that's my advice to her. If she had parents that said to her, go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, invest for the long term in the stock market.
Poor dad mentality.
They're obsolete. Good people, obsolete.
Yeah.
All right, I got an interesting question for you. There's a bunch of entrepreneurs that were on a trip in Norway, and we started talking about what kind of investments have you done and how much money have you lost versus how much have you splurged on yourself. When you talk about personal development, the question is really an emotional question, is how much are you willing to risk for gain business-wise versus how much do you spoil yourself? And immediately following that, one of the members booked a ticket for his family, including a foster sister, flew to China, reunited the family, spent $54,000 on first-class airfare, and had this epic experience because he realized he'd lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in investments, but really didn't splurge on these amazing events in his life. So the question's a two-part question. What's the most you've invested in lost? And what's the most you've invested in yourself on a splurging personal basis for enjoyment?
I've lost $100 million.
Wow.
But it's not my money. You can understand that. So it didn't, Donald was trying to explain what bankruptcy meant because, there's personal bankruptcy and there's business bankruptcies.
Right.
And the $100 million was a business bankruptcy. It didn't affect me at all because personally I'm protected. And that's financial education. You've got to understand entities like, S corporations, LLCs, C corporations. But you'll know the strategy. And as far as splurging, I'll just tell you the story because I run around with Don Jr. and Eric Trump. Those guys fly economy. They're multimillionaires.
Wow. Okay,
so this bullshit about, you can only relax when the job is done. And a lot of people, their minds, exactly as Hal talks about, they have this mind that's, well, I'm going to be really good to myself. And then they go and blow their money. I do it every morning. That's what I loved about Hal's book. Every morning I get up and I go, well, I think I'll exercise tomorrow. So no, just stick to it, SAVERS. And I don't splurge. Another definition of relaxation, you can only relax when you've done your work. So I don't relax. I didn't start relaxing until I had about $20 million a year cash flow without working. Wow. And I busted my ass till then. So today I relax. If the market crashes, I'm going to get richer. But what a lot of times people do is their mind. Your mind is your enemy, and so is your ego. That's what Hal was getting at. So I have 2 Ferraris. I just ordered my Rolls Royce again. I have Porsches all over the place. But I don't buy those things until I have the asset that buys it for me. Mm-hmm. So next month I'm taking my brother. I'm flying my brother first class because he doesn't have any money. He doesn't want. I don't know why. And then I'm going to spend it on him, not on me. So I'm flying by private jet. We're going to Napa and all that stuff. But I have the money. I already have the money. So that's the definition of, most people are splurging every day. That's why they're broke.
Right.
I think it's funny, personally.
So I got a question here from, and you mentioned this a lot. My first book that I ever read of yours, I was 18 years old, and it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that's what got me into buying passive income rentals for myself and starting my businesses. And
it's fun too, isn't it?
It's the funnest thing out there. It's
yeah. Getting rich is fun.
It's great, and I appreciate and thank you for that, because you've been an idol and someone who's taught me many things as a mentor just through your book. So thank you. We got a guy named Gabriel Wiseman, and you've touched on this before. I've heard you talk on this. Gabriel wants to know, how can I learn how to analyze income-producing assets, or what's the best way to do so?
Take classes. Look, let me give you an example of education. Okay, the word education comes from educe, which means to draw out of you. It's already in there. So inside everyone listening to this is a poor person. I have a poor person inside of me. There's a middle class person, some schmo who wants job security, wants to save money, do it the easy way, have a good steady pension, losers. But anyway, they're going to lose. Trust me, they're going to lose because the market's going to crush them. And then there's a rich person. So when I ask people about how they learn, I said, how'd you learn to ride a bicycle? And most people got on the bicycle and fell off, and one day they ride. Now, would that same learning process work to fly an aircraft? No. You go out there and you fall down, you're dead on an aircraft. It's called crashing. And that's what happens to most entrepreneurs, most real estate investors, most stock investors. They think learning to be an investor or an entrepreneur is the same as learning to ride a bicycle. They're completely two different things. The stress level, as you guys know, in entrepreneurship is huge. How many times I've been screwed? Many. How many times I've had a best friend cheat me? Many. The emotional strain is immense. And it's the same as markets. Markets are this market is coming down, mark my words, next couple of years. It's going to come down. You're going to find all your friends and family who thought you were crazy for, studying. They're suddenly going to be out of job, out of money, and they're going to buy a gun and shoot you for it. You're going to see people turn into complete predators within 3 days. So that's why, because I apologize for being late, but I'm preparing right now. I'm meeting my Machine Gun Kelly friends up in the mountains of Arizona. And we carry machine guns. We don't carry Glock 9mm. You know what I mean? When you're going to a real gunfight, you don't want to carry a pistol. I've been in those fights. So I'm just trying to say right now, that's what I'm preparing for. And what I'm most afraid of are my neighbors. If my neighbors are desperate, they will come after me. So I've seen it so many times before. So that's why I warn people. I said it might happen probably 5%, but I don't want that 5% to stop me. So I'm just preparing. I have my prepper cabin. I have my weapons in place. I have my ammunition in place. And I have my water in place. I have my food in place, just in case. And my prepper friends are up there with me. Like I said, my prepper friends are not the same as my business friends. Some of them are. That is the way I think, okay?
All right. On that note, can you tell us a little bit about your mentors? Who are the people that you look to as your board of advisors? I know that I've done some work for T. Harv Eker, and he's referenced, using you as an individual that has given him wisdom. He's learned from you. Are there some people you can tell us about that represent that for you, your mentors?
Well, It's off. Hey, Christina? Yeah. It stopped for some reason. Okay.
We're back on.
Can you see me?
Yes.
We got you.
We went out on this side. Look, I'll just say this about mentors for you guys. It's like, Buckminster Fuller was my mentor in Second Chance. And as I wrote in '83 after he died, he wrote the book Grunch of Giants about the gross universal cash heist we're in right now. That's what's going to bring us down. Okay. Now, the next thing was my rich dad. He said the same thing Fuller did. We're being ripped off. We're being ripped off in a big way. Just look at where Goldman, it used to be the Rothschild Bank, now it's Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs now controls the world. They have a Goldman Sachs guy at the head of the Bank of England, the European Central Bank, and the U.S. They control the world. They're going to bankrupt. They've already bankrupted Greece. Puerto Rico's gone. Argentina's about to go. Venezuela's gone. Japan's about to go. China's about to go bust. Just look at it from that way. Everybody thinks China's the engine. It's bullshit. It's broke. Because everybody's running on printed money right now. That's Second Chance. That's my video. Man who could see the future. So this baby's coming down. It has happened time and again. Every time we print money, it collapses. The Romans tried it. Milosevic tried it. China tried it. Japan's now doing it. U.S. is doing it. That's why I'm saying prepare for this one. It's going to be the biggest ever. So my mentors are people who have done what I want to do. The young lady says, what should she do? She better find people who know what they're talking about. She wants to be an entrepreneur. Don't go to college, because those guys aren't entrepreneurs. They're school teachers. You want to be a school teacher, go to school. You want to be a military pilot? I flew some of the best pilots I've ever been around. These guys kicked my ass every single day preparing me to go to Vietnam. I chose the hardest, meanest teachers I could find. There was one guy named Skinny Harrington. The guy was a real asshole. But he kept me alive because he used to carry a plastic baseball bat, and he used to beat me. And the baseball bat was to simulate incoming gunfire. He wanted to find out. He would hit me with the back of the. He says, that's what it feels like when rounds are coming through the aircraft. He says, can you keep your calm? Can you still stay focused when these rounds are coming at you? The guys that didn't come back, the guys that took their eyes off the target and started looking at the rounds versus the target. So those are my best teachers. They're not famous guys, but they're tough. They came from real experience. Mm-hmm. The trouble I have with most school teachers, they're bullshit artists. They haven't seen real life yet. So what you guys are doing is crucial. It's crucial to the development of yourselves personally, but also for young entrepreneurs. Make it real. Make it tough. Open yourselves to bullshit ideas like mine about how I'm carrying a machine gun. And I do carry a machine gun, several of them. But I've already had people try and kill me many times. So I never want to be at a gunfight with a Glock 17. Got it?
Got it. I got a great question from a gentleman named Matthew, and I know through your books you have paved the way for many to educate themselves on financial literacy and created opportunity. You've given back in so many ways. How are you continuing to give back today? And is there any specific cause that you are passionate about right now?
Yeah, believe it or not, I support animal rights things, and I'm a hunter. So because I want the animals alive more than Cecil. Cecil was a tragedy, but that was a poacher, not a hunter. They're a very big difference. It's a criminal. So he should be shot. I'd shoot him for you personally. No, but I don't stop. I really don't stop saying what I'm saying. For the people who read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, this is my question I ask all of them. What was lesson 1?
Cash flow.
So you better look that up. Now, most people miss it. Lesson number 1, chapter 1, the rich don't work for money.
Mm.
See, money is trash. That's what I'm trying to say in Second Chance. Nothing has changed. I just try and say it in my video. Cash is trash. And as the Fed keeps printing and the EU keeps printing, Japan is printing, China is printing, why are people working for money? It doesn't make sense to me. See, the ultimate goal of my life, Donald and I wrote a book together. It's called The Midas Touch. If you really are a rich person, you can make money out of thin air. If you can make money out of thin air, you'll never work. You'll never need a job again. You won't even care about money. That's really what we're saying. That's why Donald and I are friends. As entrepreneurs, you can create money out of thin air, nothing. That's the most powerful position to be in. People ask me what my net worth is. I have no frickin' idea. You don't hear me saying, oh, I can't afford it. Because I know how to make money out of thin air. It's called the Midas touch. And ultimately, that was my goal. Could I make money out of nothing? When you can do that, you're pretty near God, manifesting. So that's why chapter 1, lesson 1, the rich don't work for money, because I don't need money. I can just manifest it. The Rich Dad Company was started out of nothing. It's made me a multimillionaire over and over again. When the last market crashed in 2007, my partners and I borrowed $500 million, $500 million. Then it was at 5%, we refinanced it at 2%. We've made so much money out of nothing. That's true power. That is truly being rich. I don't give a flying F about money because I can manifest it. That's ultimately the Rich Dad message. You go all the way back to lesson 1, the rich don't work for money.
Beautiful. I got one quick question from Ellen, and I know you've touched on this a handful of times, Robert. Ellen wants to know, do you recommend buying gold?
Yes. There's 4 precious metals you've got to have, and I don't buy them as investments. 4 precious metals are gold, because gold will be around 1,000 years from now. The U.S. dollar won't. Silver will be around 1,000 years, and it's an industrial metal. It's used in all electronics. So the more industrial age we become, the more valuable silver becomes. The other 2 precious metals are bullets and guns, because if you have anything, you've got to be able to defend yourself. Also, I warehouse bullets, because bullets will become cash when the economy breaks down. If you've ever, if you've been at a gun store when that shooting happened in Connecticut,
yep,
there was a run on guns and ammunition. You couldn't get anything. So, if I'm correct, which is hopefully I'm wrong, but when the economy busts, bullets become money, because people will need bullets. So that's kind of my most morbid thinking of all. That said, my friends are class 3 guys. We all shoot. We train together, firing a squad. I don't want my attorney there, because that guy has no idea which end of the gun to shoot with. He'd probably shoot me. So I already told him, I said, you're not on my team for that game. If it comes down to into machine gun warfare, sorry, we're friends, but not that close. So that's the way I think, and then I prepare for the future. So, am I buying gold and silver? Yes, only because I expect it to crash, and when you need it, you can't buy it. So I buy it now, and hopefully I'll never need it. Do I care about the price of gold and silver? Not at all. When it goes down, I just buy more. So I started buying that stuff at $85 an ounce. I've done quite well. But I'll hope I never spend it.
Yeah.
So that being said, not everybody can be Robert Kiyosaki or has the leverage that you have. What should Joe Average do in order to prepare for what you say may be coming in the coming years?
Well, I hate to tell you this. Everybody can do what I do. You know, silver is at $15 an ounce. Everybody in the world can afford some silver. And everybody especially, you know, maybe not in the world, but most people in America can buy some 22 ammunition. You know? And when somebody says they can't do it, they're idiots. That's why they're poor. You know, like when I take you from the start of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is the rich don't work for money, and the reason is because I can manifest it. Everybody can do that too. They got to believe they can do it, though.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not real religious, but that's what Christ did, you know. Took a loaf of bread and fed thousands of people. So all you religious guys out there, just be like Jesus. I'm not real religious.
I couldn't have guessed.
No, I just think it's kind of entertaining because, you know, like, if you're going to be rich, you better go to a rich church. And what I mean by that is, the reason I dropped out of church, it's almost like the reason I dropped out of school, is that underlying America is just the saying that the love of money is the root of all evil. And so when I talk to my family and my friends, especially my Christian friends, oh, being rich is evil. And it's going in that little voice. Well, I can't be rich because I had to be evil. I said, yeah, you can be even more evil when you're starving to death. You come to knocking on my door and I have to do something to you. So I had to find a church where the preacher said getting rich was good. You know, you got to find a school teacher who says getting rich, this is how you do it. Don't say get a job. So that's why your brain, your body, your spirit, the most important things. But if you hang out with idiots, poor people, you know, don't go to a poor church. That's all I'm trying to say. Go to a church, but don't go to a poor one. So there's a guy, he just passed away recently. It's called Reverend Ike, I-K-E. He has videotapes that you want to cleanse your soul of your poverty religion. Just listen to Reverend Ike. You know, their videos. I sit and laugh my ass off. I've gone to his church. I've met him. I love the guy. Unfortunately, he passed away. But I went looking for the religious teacher that spoke the dogma. You know, dogma is whatever you believe. Of what I wanted to believe. And he said, you know, Reverend Ike was a black guy, and he said all the blacks. He said, don't ask people what color you are. He says, my color is green. I sit there and laugh and laugh and laugh, you know. And so he spoke to me the religion I wanted to hear. So it's called Reverend Ike. He's on YouTube and all that. If you want some entertainment, just watch his videos. I crack up. Now it drives all the poor Christians nuts. You know what I mean? So really that's kind of my, you know, you got to choose your teachers and your friends wisely and for what job. You know, like I said, in my advisor group, there are guys who are totally anti-guns. I said, good, we'll be business partners, but not combat partners. Okay.
So in your life experience, and you've had some amazing ones, what's the greatest lesson you've ever learned?
Well, I was studying with Dr. Fuller. That's why he was my teacher, and he had a lot of teachers. I mean, he had a lot of lessons, and he wasn't really religious also, but he says the world operates on what's called generalized principles. And the generalized principles are principles that are true in all cases. For example, the principle of precession is when you throw a stone on the water, there's always a ring, goes out, ripple effect. So in the world today, there's always ripple effects. It makes sense, always. So no matter if you do nothing, you have no ripple. But your true purpose is not the pebble, but the rings. You want to create waves. Your job is to create waves. Okay, good, I'll create fucking waves, you know. And the other one was about ephemeralization. Ephemeralization is the power to do everything with nothing. So these guys who, like, you watch television today, they put on 4 minutes of programming and 6 minutes of commercials. They're going opposite direction. They're raising their prices. Today, you have to be doing more and charging less. That's your job. If you do that, you abide by God's principles. So at Rich Dad and doing what you guys are doing, we do everything. We educate for free. I educate as much as I can for free. And the more I focus on doing that, the more money I make. Where these other corporate guys are raising their prices, wonder why they're going out of business. And what's one more I was thinking about? Oh, the other principle was the more people I serve, the more effective I become. So my whole mission statement, personally inside of me, is I will go and serve as many people as possible, not sell as many people as possible. So if I continually focus on how I can serve people versus sell them something, I'll do better. And his principles have guided me for years now. So that's why you don't find me working for money, because money just comes in anyway. Then I convert it to assets, and assets produce cash flow. And the other thing he talked to me about was this. He says, you don't have to be the biggest, but you can be a trim tab. It's how one little guy can change the world. So the trim tab on the back of a rudder, on the back of an airplane, is a little piece of, sits back there. If you're a trim tab, you can change the world. So I knew when I could see this crisis coming 20 years ago, I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to only be a trim tab. Now, everywhere I hear, they're talking about entrepreneurship, they're talking about financial literacy, financial education, and all that. So I personally feel that being a trim tab, I've actually changed the world. I don't have to be the biggest and the best. So what you guys are doing, all of you are being trim tabs. And all of you have a message. And be true to your message, because we're all different people. So inside of every one of us, what Fuller said was that a priori. A priori means all of us came to Earth with knowledge to be delivered that's never been here before. So for me, for some reason, I come to Earth and I go, well, why don't we learn about money? And I didn't realize it at the time, but that was what I was supposed to do. I just asked the question. So each and every one of us has something unique that's God delivered, and God implanted, but you're supposed to deliver. And when you deliver what you're supposed to deliver, your life changes. It's not about making money. Okay? Got to have the business principles.
Right.
When you find out what you're supposed to deliver, what knowledge were you supposed to deliver, your life will change. And mine was just simply, here's an asset, here's a liability, it's a financial statement. Basic accounting. It's funny to me.
I agree. So on a practical basis, as you look at North America, we have a question from Paul Fortin from Montreal. He's saying, if you look geographically, is there a spot that you think is an opportunity to invest real estate-wise?
No, real estate is only 1 hour away from you. That's it. The reason, because real estate is not a stock, So this mistake I made is I invested 2 hours away from me, my first investment. The moment it went bad, it was costing more money. But I think there's a bigger thought than just looking at real estate. You have to understand why real estate, which is debt and taxes. You want to use as much debt as possible. The more debt you use, the less tax you pay. That's the main reason. The other thing I like to talk about is the 5 flag theory. I don't really consider myself an American. I am by passport. But the 5 flag theory is you want to work in one country, you want to live in another country, you want to hold your assets in another country, you want to vacation in another country, and you want to have dual passports, just so you can run today. Because it's coming apart. I was just at a conference in Cancun, Mexico, and it was about 350 extremely wealthy Americans. They're all running with their money right now. They're going into hiding. Just like in Atlas Shrugged, have you read Atlas Shrugged? People went into hiding. So the rich are going into hiding right now.
Wow. So if we have time for one last thing to bring us home, what is your favorite quote that you would love to share with our One Life community for people who are really striving to educate themselves financially and take that next step?
Well, again, I say I'm not real religious, but I did flunk out of Sunday school too. but the line I always thought was really important was supposedly, and the reason I say supposedly is the Bible wasn't written until a number of years after Christ passed on. How do we know? I mean, I can't remember yesterday. I don't remember 50 years, you know. But supposedly Christ said, you know, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. And I think most of us know not what we do, but we just keep going. And the reason I really dislike school is that when you punish somebody for making mistakes, then they don't do anything, you know? So every time I make a step forward, I screw up, and that increases my awareness. So when I know I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but if I do something, I'll find out.
Right.
So that's, you know what I'm saying is, how do you learn something if you don't make a mistake? So you look at the most unsuccessful people, most of them have not made enough mistakes yet. Because they went to school and they're told not to make mistakes. And so I think that's what the school system is not doing. So I don't, you know, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. Our school system's screwing us. They're screwing us big time. But that also applies to me, because forgive me, Lord, because I don't know what I'm doing. But that's why I'm so successful, because I know I don't know what I'm doing. And I just go do something. You know what I mean? If I do something, whereas Einstein said, nothing happens until something moves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where people are paralyzed right now, they're not doing anything.
Robert, on behalf of One Life Fully Lived, on behalf of GoBundance and the M1 program, and for all those entrepreneurs out there, and on behalf of Matt Aitchison and Tim Rode, we want to thank you so much for taking this time and being candid with us and playful. And thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for, like I said, I'm not going to tell you to vote Republican, that's for sure, you know. So I wanted to be able to at least disturb some of the thoughts, because when you disturb, that's like putting ripples in the brain cells, and then you come up with your own ideas. So thank you for letting me be so off the wall. I appreciate it.
Job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. We appreciate it.
Keep up the good work, and if you haven't read Hal's book, read it and do it. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you. Bye, you guys.
You guys are awesome. Take care.
Bye.
For everybody on our One Life call, we want to thank you guys. We appreciate you tuning in today. I'm sure you guys were challenged, and as Robert said, some ripples were created in the brain today, that's for sure. There's some things you might have related to, some things that you might not have, and that's okay. It's all about perspective. It's all about creating and taking things that apply to you and things that you're passionate about. So I hope everybody got some good content today. I know I was writing down some good notes. The 5 flag theory was amazing. I'm gonna be posting some notes that I took down in the One Life community for you guys. I'd love to get I'd like to get everybody's feedback, because he said some controversial stuff on the call today, and he said some very insightful stuff on the call today. And it'd be great to hear what everybody else's thoughts were. Most importantly, this is to create awareness for everybody and to educate us on a variety of topics, financial literacy being one of them. So I'm going to wrap it up and say thank you to our One Life community. I love you guys on behalf of Tim Rode, our board, and everybody who participates to bring the magic to you guys. Thank you, and have an awesome week. Take care.